international, and we're growing. We are unique. I know that sounds self-gratifying, but the fact is, I know of no other show that does what we do. We are here for a very important purpose, and that's for the car owners of the world. Cars are sold differently than any other retail product, and the people that sell those cars are called car dealers. By the way, in full transparency and disclosure, I'm a car dealer. I'm selling cars. I have a car dealership right now. This is not an infomercial, though. I have evolved into a consumer advocate. Most of you know that. And for you new folks out there, think about radio talk show host and a team of talk show hosts that dares tell the unvarnished, naked truth every week. And that's what we do. We pull no punches. We name names. We have a mystery shopping report. You'll hear that later on in the show, where we visit a car dealership in South Florida, and we pretend to buy or lease a car, and we tell exactly what happened. We name the dealership, the salespeople, the management team, everybody. And we've been doing this for 17 years. We've never been sued, and that's because the truth is a perfect defense against libel and slander. That's exciting. That's unique. Plus, we answer your questions. Cars are technical miracles now. They are caught up in the knowledge revolution, the digital explosion, the artificial intelligence, all those other crazy terms that nobody ever heard of 20 years ago. And we have cars now that are very complicated. So I remind you, as I said in the introduction, I've got a man sitting to my right here in the studio. His name is Rick Kearney, and he's worked for me for over 20 years. I know him very well. He's still fixing cars, but what he's doing today bears no resemblance to what he did 25 years ago. He has truly become, I call him an auto computer scientist, because he has to be that trained. He spends a lot of time in school, online, and in class, because every time they come out with a new model car, things are changing radically. You've probably got a car now that's 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old. Those cars are changing every year. If you have some questions about cars, you call Rick Kearney. And the call-in number is very important, 877 960-9960. Most of you have that memorized. We have a good, really base group of listeners. But if you haven't, write the number down. If you don't have a question now, later in the show you will. 877-960-9960. And we get a huge number of texts. We love the text because, well, I think people like texting because you don't have to, it's not invasion of your privacy. You can do it in the confidence and
less
the
of a commitment.
Quiet. Huh?
It's less of a commitment.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to.
Exactly.
You don't have to get into a conversation.
Yeah,
Right
I
to the
forget
point.
that live radio is scary. And it's because I'm one of these people. I've been doing it for so long. But you don't have to be scared. You have to just text us 772-497-6530. You don't even have to use your name, but 772-497-6530. And we get a surprising number of inquiries, comments, suggestions on our anonymous feedback line. This is a web link, and it's just www.youranonymousfeedback.com. Write that down. You can say anything you want to. We get some attacks. I've been personally attacked. Not very often. I'm surprised how little I get attacked. I actually would like to have some more attacks, because that proves the veracity of our anonymous feedback line. So please attack me at www.youranonymousfeedback.com. I'm only kidding. Your comments.
Be nice.
But we have a lot of people that do the anonymous just because they can, and it's simpler. YouTube, Facebook, we're on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Periscope. We're all over the place, and we'd love to hear from you. That is the most important part of our show. Let me start out by turning the microphone over to Nancy Stewart. She's my co-host. She's my wife. She's the love of my life, and she's also a very, very strong advocate for you female listeners.
Thank you so much. Hey, guys, can you feel the energy in the studio? Wow, we're on fire. So don't go anywhere. Stay right with us. And ladies, $50 for the first 2 new lady callers, and we'd love to hear from you. So many of you have texted me throughout the week and emailed me, and I appreciate it so much, but I want to hear from you this morning. 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. Now back to the recovering car dealer.
I forgot to mention earlier about our mystery shopping report. We have something unique in store for you today. We actually taped a car dealer's television advertisement. Typically, with our mystery shopping report, we respond to an advertisement. And this time we did that. Usually we respond to online, but television is difficult we see an advertisement on television, we're like you. We don't really know what it said because we can't read the fine print. And we all know that that's the way the car dealers get you, their TV ads and a lot of their other ads too. But we actually have a local television dealer's television ad recorded, and we have it notated. We have it marked up. We separate the audio, and then we separate the video. And by the way, Jonathan in our control room, who is our technical genius that makes this show happen technically with synchronizing the sound and the YouTube and the videos and everything. Everything you're looking at now on Facebook or Periscope or YouTube largely is a result of Jonathan's expertise. So he put this together. So we will combine our mystery shopping report today with that television ad that is taken apart and freeze framed, and so you can see what it really said, not what you thought it said when you saw it on television. You probably did, by the way, because this particular car dealer saturates the airwaves with their television ads. So stay tuned. And all you car dealers out there, stay tuned too, because it might be your TV ad. And do you want your TV ad taken apart and itemized, and the audio compared to the video and the fine print compared to the apparent message of the advertisement? Do you want that done to your TV ad? It might be done. You might be the dealer. Nancy?
Absolutely. So stay tuned for that. Very, very important part of the show. We're going to go to John, and he's calling us from Stewart.
Morning, John.
Whoa.
Good morning, John.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
We hear you loud and clear, John.
Okay, I think this is a question for Rick. I listen to you guys' program all the time. Now, this is the second time I called in.
Oh.
And I have a 2002 or 4 Toyota Matrix XRS, and we let this girl or these people, they stay with my mom at our house sometimes. They're flight attendants like my wife, and so they drive down the 45th Avenue and get on the tri-rail and go down there, and so it's just used as a commuter.
Mm-hmm.
And so about 3 weeks ago, the girl was driving it down there, and all of a sudden, when she got past the weight station there, it started jumping and jerking and everything. And so, long story short, we took it to the mechanic guy that I have, and she got it. It was apparently it was out of coolant, and so it fried everything. Supposedly there's some little plug in there that if you get it over, 300 degrees, it melts or something. And so it got over that. So I didn't know what to do. So I said, well, let's try to rebuild the heads. And so that's what his suggestion was. So it's been about $650. We rebuilt the heads. First cylinder's compression was 100. The next one was 85. The third one was 0. And the fourth one was 35. So we put some other stuff called Miracle Magic in the cylinder, the third one that didn't have any pressure. And so I'm waiting to see what happens, but I mean, I don't know is there anything else I can do because it doesn't have any pressure. I guess the rings or something aren't. Rick knows more about it than I do. I'm just trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah, unfortunately, my recommendation on that one would have been to replace the engine without doing any head work, because what'll happen is the piston rings are going to seize up, the block is actually going to get warped, the head is going to get warped. At those kind of temperatures, you're going to see so much damage to the engine that the least expensive way out of that really would be to contact one of the LKQ, basically a junkyard, a salvage yard, and find a replacement engine, a used engine. And believe it or not, you can get some really decent quality engines. And these LKQ yards, it's like kind quality is how they get their name. And they will actually give you even a year or either a 6-month or a 1-year warranty on these engines, and of course the price accordingly. But you can get a used engine in for, I'm going to guess, installed for around 12 to 1500, and have it back on the road if you want to. Otherwise, you probably would be best just to contact one of the scrap yards and sell it for scrap, because once that engine's gotten that hot, there's so much damage across the entire thing that it's almost impossible to salvage.
Stu, what's the value of a 2004 Matrix approximately?
Give me a minute.
Okay, we'll check that out. The reason I asked that, John, is that you really are. It's not economically feasible to spend over half the value of a vehicle on a repair, because then you have another repair that pops up later on. But this idea about the used engine is a great idea if you're going to go that road. And as Rick said, the test of buying a used engine is, do they have a good warranty? And this LKQ is one of the ones. Is that LKQ.com if I wanted to look for a used part?
That would be the way on.
Yeah.
And basically, it's a nationwide network
Yeah.
of salvage yards.
Yeah, they're very sophisticated. I hate calling them a junkyard. I used to call them junkyards, but this is a highly sophisticated, a reliable source of parts now, and we use it in our dealership, and a lot of other dealers will use that when all else fails. If they're trying to do an economic repair, the used part is a great economic solution.
About how many miles are on that Matrix?
John, how many miles on that 2004 Matrix? I think we might have lost John. If you're still listening, John, let's assume it's a lot of miles. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I put in 125,000. That's probably
Yeah.
could be light. Don't know. It's not worth very much. Average auction prices from Mannheim is running around $1,700.
yeah. So you're getting
Okay.
you're getting over half the value of a repair, and so it's something you probably just ought to pass on, and just try to buy yourself a good quality later model used vehicle would be my recommendation. John, I'm sorry.
Hey, can you hear me?
Oh, I hear you now. Yeah, I didn't hear you a minute ago.
Yeah,
but
no, I lost you. I lost you, and I called back because.
Oh, great.
I got the L. See, where's it at?
LKQ stands for Like Kind Quality, likekindquality.com, and it's a reliable source with warranty on the used parts they sell, which is key. And we were talking about the value of your 2004 Matrix is such.
Yeah, I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, the value of your 2000. What was the value estimated value?
About $1,700.
About $1,700. If you were to sell it wholesale, you could retail it maybe for over $2,000. But the fact that you're going to have to spend, what was the cost installed on the engine?
I'm going to say 12 to 1500.
So that's about half the cost, or over half the cost actually of the value. So you're right now where you're probably better off just to sell the car as is. It has salvage value, and take that, put a down payment on a later model used vehicle, and but I'm sorry that you already spent $650, and I know you're tempted to want to.
It's probably going to be It's probably going to be $1,000 a time, because that was just for having it milled and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to spend like that.
Yeah.
So how much do you? So it's worth that much. How much? Salvage yards give me like $200 or something. Or
Probably more than that, wouldn't they? Still, a salvage yard would. What would they pay for that?
$500 maybe.
Yeah, I think you can get closer to 500. I mean, it's not much, but it's something. It's good.
Better than nothing.
Think of the time you're saving and the aggravation, and never knowing if you're going to have another repair on top of the first repair. And you got good use out of that vehicle. 2004, 16 years. I think it's time to move up to a later model. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we got 250. So yeah, okay. Is there a junkyard or a salvage yard or whatever you would suggest or something? I live in Stewart.
Yeah, we can get one local for you. I don't
So-
have one off the top of my head, but I can get that, and we could probably announce it before the show's over.
Yeah, well,
thank you so much.
I tell you what, you can just text us on our text line. Can you write this text number down?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I got a pen.
772 area code 772-497-6530. 772-497-6530. Text us your contact information, and we'll email you or text you recommended salvage yards. Yeah, we'll give you 2 or 3 so you can get some bids on it.
Okay, buddy. Thanks so much. You guys have a great day, and I really appreciate your show.
Rick has a
Thank
comment,
you.
John.
Hey, John,
Yes.
just a quick search on Google came up LKQ Atlantic Pick Your Part, which is in Riviera Beach. They're actually on Dyer Boulevard, pretty much at the intersection of Blue Heron and Military Trail, just a little way south of there and then a little west. And I'm sure they'll have a tow service that they could come and pick the vehicle up for you, even.
Oh,
you know,
one source. We'll give you a
included in
couple more on top of that.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you,
There's-
John.
Yeah, Google search, there's probably 20 of them just right here in
Oh, boy.
West Palm Beach area.
Okay. I'll try that one there. Thank you so much, guys.
Good luck,
Thanks.
John. Thanks for the
you,
call.
John. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Can you go anywhere else and turn on a radio show like this? Accurate information. We're working with you. You're working with us. What a fantastic show. So don't go anywhere. 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. And our show wouldn't be a show without Tina, who calls us from Bonita Springs. Good morning, Tina.
Good morning, y'all. How you doing?
We're doing great.
Good. Oh, Tesla is in the news again, and not for a good reason. If you look on jalopnik.com, and it's also on The Verve, you'll pull up a news article about Tesla. Apparently, there's a gentleman who bought himself a used Tesla thinking it had everything on it, and it was sold as having all the software updates. But it turned out that one of the features that was sold to him was not available. And when he got a hold of Tesla, Tesla says, well, you know, you didn't buy this feature, so if you want this feature, which was an over-the-air update, I do believe, you have to pay $8,000 for it. So, you know, this is my thinking. My thinking is, say, for instance, I go to a used car dealer or a car lot that sells new and used cars, which would be my preference.
Yeah.
And I bought a car that had cruise control, and it had anti-lock brakes, and it had four-wheel drive. Well, if I buy the vehicle and they say, well, you can't have those parts, you have to pay extra for that. Well, I already bought the vehicle, and you're charging me extra for the parts that was already advertised for. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But it brings about another question. A lot of these modern cars are going to have over-the-air software updates. Do we really want the manufacturer of our cars to have that much control over what we're driving?
Yeah, I just back on you on the Tesla thing, Tina. This is a little out of character for Tesla, and things may have changed. But you know, we've shopped Tesla. In fact, Nancy and I were almost on the verge of buying a Tesla. They've got a reputation for being very transparent and honest in what they do. I know there's a lot of controversy. A lot of people you either love or hate Tesla. But in terms of their sales practices, they actually are a breath of fresh air compared to the average car dealer. And I do know that sometimes you have to pay extra for upgrades in your car, and that's what they do. Is part of their pricing solution. You're basically buying the car online, and they manufacture every car pretty much to specification. They don't have inventories of cars that they sell from. They sell from pre-orders. So if you pre-order a car without a particular option, even though it's a software option, they will charge you for the software update, and that's just their price structure. It's kind of a new thing with the way cars are being built today.
But the thing is, this was a used car that somebody had purchased, and it already.
Oh,
had the feature
okay.
on
They
it
didn't buy it
before.
from a Tesla dealer. I see.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, that's
And Tesla said, guess what? You didn't pay for it, so you're going to have to pay for it. You're going to have to pay $8,000 if you want it. But
oh,
this is a used car.
yeah. I'm glad you
That's
clarified that.
insane.
That's bait and switch, and that doesn't surprise me coming from a conventional car dealer. But if I were going to buy I don't know. I don't think Tesla sells used Teslas. I think they only sell new ones. I never checked to find out, but you would think they would, but maybe they don't. Anybody know?
Well, the thing is that Tesla themselves told the customer. It wasn't the used car dealer or the wholesaler. It was Tesla themselves
Yeah.
that told the customer, hey, listen, if you want this, you're going to have to pay for the update,
Yeah.
even though the previous owner had already paid for it all.
Oh, that's strange. I don't understand that. What was the source
Yeah.
on that information, Tina? Where did you read that?
Jalopnik, Jalopnik, and then it's
Great
also
website.
on the Verve,
Yeah.
VERVE.
Yeah. Well, if that happened, that's wrong, and shame on Tesla. But I think it's a fluke, my personal opinion. I don't think, to my knowledge, this is the first time I've heard of Tesla directly flim-flamming anybody. But it could happen, and things change. When Tesla first came out, everybody thought it was a perfect car, and then 2 or 3 years later, they found out some of the cars weren't so good after all. So things do change. You can't just form an opinion about any vehicle manufacturer or dealer and figure it's going to be that way for a long time. Things do change.
Yeah, and Consumer Reports has never been a fan of Teslas, as we all know. So if you want more information on Tesla, just pull up Consumer Reports, pay the very nominal fee for a subscription, and you'll find out more information if you want to know.
I got you. Well, thanks, Tina. That's very good information. What else is on your mind this morning?
Well, the other thing that I wanted to mention, kind of a follow-up, is my mom. She went online last weekend and looked up the make and model of their vehicle, and they are not under the airbag recall, so they're okay.
Good.
Everything worked out as far as that went.
Well, you pick up the paper every day, there's another recall. I just found one on Hyundai, 540,000 Hyundais recalled or something like that because they're catching on fire. And it was on page, I think, 18 of the Palm Beach Post, buried on page 18 of the paper. The interesting thing about this is the Hyundais, the cars will catch on fire even when the engine's not running. So how'd you like to buy a Hyundai, drive it home, park it in your garage, go to bed, and then 3 o'clock in the morning, the fire department knocks on the door, says your garage and home are on fire.
That's one hot vehicle.
Yeah.
That's really scary.
And they don't even, people don't get excited about it. That's what amazes me is it's a SOB.
It's life.
Yeah.
Hey, Tina.
Just as a matter of a public safety announcement, if you smell smoke or if you see anything coming up from under the hood of your car, get out immediately because cars catch fire and they'll be engulfed in seconds.
Yeah.
Stop the car first, though.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. We had a couple of
Roll.
comedians here this
Jump
morning.
out and roll.
Hey, Tina, back to your original topic, Tesla. As we all agreed, you can buy a used Tesla, but you better be serious about it because you're not going to get your deposit back. You have to transfer that to another used Tesla. Just a heads
wow.
up.
That's good to know.
It is. Tina, thanks so much for your call. And thanks for supporting the ladies that call here. And what do you have to say about that? Wait a minute. Rick has something to say first.
Can I read a quick thing from Jalopnik here about this particular story? I just found it, was looking at it. Let's recap this. Let's recap a little bit at this point. A Model S with enhanced autopilot, which includes the summon feature and full self-drive capability, is sold at auction. A dealer buys it. After the sale to the dealer, Tesla checks in on the car remotely and decides that it shouldn't have autopilot or full self-drive capability. The dealer sells the car to the customer based on the specifications that they were aware the car had and were shown on the window sticker and confirmed via a screenshot from the car's display showing the options. And later, when the customer upgrades the car's software, autopilot and full self-drive disappear. Apparently, Tesla in that software update, decided those features shouldn't be available on that car anymore, and they took them away.
Well,
Theft.
again, we have one source, and we need to check the validity of that. I would think that if someone were to go to Tesla on this, there might be a different story, but you never know. And it is worthy of
Yeah,
mention.
but either way, the customer
Customer
felt
got,
They were
got
like,
screwed, yeah.
Well,
wait a second, this is yeah.
here's the response from Tesla. This is from Tesla customer support. Tesla has recently identified instances of customers being incorrectly configured for autopilot versions that they did not pay for. Since there was an audit done to correct these instances, your vehicle is one of the vehicles that was incorrectly configured for autopilot. We looked back at your purchase history, and unfortunately, full self-driving was not a feature that you had paid for. We apologize for the confusion. If you're still interested in having those additional features, we
Send
can
me a
begin the
check.
process to purchase the upgrade.
Okay, I think we beat that to death. And
Okay.
I think
We
we
have a call waiting.
Okay, we have. Thanks very much, Tina. We're going to do a little further deep dive investigation on that, and thank you very much for the call. And we have another call.
Thank you, and
You're very welcome.
see you later.
Thanks, Tina.
Bye, Tina.
I know what you're going to say, Tina. I'll say it for you. But we're going to go to John, another one of our favorite callers from Palm City.
Good morning to everyone. I have the answer to John from Stewart Wrecking Yard in his area.
Oh, great.
It's on Salerno Road. It's called Snake Road Wrecking Yard. It's a very
Scary.
big place. It's been there for years.
That sounds
I've been
scary.
Today,
there.
the question
Snake
I
Road.
have for Rick on tire sensors. We have a cool day today, and some cars, you'll see the light go on for low tire pressure. Now, I was told, and how true it is, if you're more than 2 to 3 pounds above or below the sticker that's on your car door, that recommended manufacturer, that light can be affected. Is there any truth in that? 2 to 3 difference from what the door sticker says, that light can come on for low tire pressure. Is that true?
Very close. It actually is going to depend on what's called the threshold. The electronic sensors, you can program this either with the scan tool, or there's some cars, there's ways to do it with the reset button, where you set the level, the air pressure that you want that light to come on. So you can set it to come on, say, at 25 pounds, at 28 pounds, at 30 pounds, 35, whatever. And when the pressure falls below that level, that's when the light will trigger. So if your threshold is set close to where your tires are, and we get a nice cold day, of course, typical physics, low temperature lowers pressure, and that air pressure
That is
effectively
Avogadro's
comes down a
principle.
little bit.
That is Avogadro's principle.
Avogadro's principle. There you go, Stu. Yes.
Physics.
Okay, now I have an exact example. It's a 10-year-old car, 2010, okay? And the man that I spoke to, it says that he was told that one of the batteries is completely shot inside. I guess it's a tire sensor and a computer combined. I don't know what it looks like. And he said that it has to be replaced, and there's another one that's weak. They do some kind of testing on it. Now, what I want to ask you is that an expensive process? They say the tire has to be taken apart because the computer is inside the tire near the valve stem. So he said that the car is 10 years old, and he said, I may not even fix it. I may just put a piece of tape on my dashboard. I said, that's not very smart because it's a safety feature. You know, you do use the car on 95, even though he doesn't put a lot of mileage on it. But I said, if it's one that's shot and the other one is weak, put all four on. Would that be a very expensive process to install new tire sensors, 4 of them?
Well, the tire sensor itself with its battery actually is the valve stem now. And
Okay.
we drove cars for 100 years without them. If if your tire sensor goes bad and you don't want the expense of replacing them, just ignore the light and check your tires once a month for air pressure, or maybe a little more often. Replacing them requires actually breaking the tire loose of the bead, replacing that sensor, the valve stem. But then on Toyotas, it has to be reprogrammed by way of a computer so that it let an outside scan tool computer that tells the car to accept these new sensor codes and read those sensors and ignore the old ones. Some cars can now, you simply replace the sensor, put it in learning mode, and it goes right through. And yeah, it can get expensive because the sensors are over $100 each.
Okay, does the tire afterward have to be rebalanced?
Only if it's completely removed, which we don't do that.
Oh, I see. It has a way that you can break the bead and just stick the new sensor in, I imagine, right?
Yep.
But there's no way is that a battery combined with a computer, but there's no just changing the battery, right?
Nope, it's all one unit, just a sealed unit.
Well, I also pointed out to him another fact, that he's a snowbird, and the car gets transported back and forth to the New York area, and I said, by truck, to deliver door to door. I said, also, just remember one thing, you have a mandatory safety inspection in New York, and if you try to go through that with a piece of tape on the dashboard, you're going to fail tremendously. So that's another factor, but it's safety more than anything that's involved. So my advice is to fix all four. And by the way, I said to him, I'm not sure. I think he has a full-size spare. If it's a full-size spare, that also has a sensitive tire sensor in also?
Some do.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you for the advice.
Thank you, John. Appreciate the call. As always, glad to have you back with us.
Always great to hear from you. Glad you could get through. Have a wonderful weekend, John. Give us a call toll free at 877.
Welcome back, Nancy. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, John. 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. And don't forget, www.youranonymousfeedback.com. We'd love to hear from you. We have a caller, from Tampa. Welcome to the show.
Tampa caller, good morning.
Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Could I have your name, please?
My name is Sydney Mondesi.
Sydney, thank you for calling. What can we do for you?
I have a question for Rick.
Okay.
I have a Toyota Highlander 2013. I got 143,000 mileage on it, and it started burning oil at 121,000. I don't know why, and there's no oil leak, nothing, but it's burning a lot of oil.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes engines do wear a little quicker than others. It comes down to just sometimes it's a problem with maintenance. Have you owned the car since it was new? Or did you buy
I bought it brand new.
And you've had the oil changed every 5,000 or every 10,000 with the synthetic oil?
Every 5,000 mileage, I do oil change, tire rotation, alignment.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes the engines just start to wear funny. The piston rings may start to seize up or gum up with the oil.
Did he say 42,000 miles?
142.
142. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes me.
Probably with that engine, the best bet that I would recommend would be to have it overhauled. It's not a super as expensive as replacing the engine, even with a used one. Basically, the mechanic would remove the engine, take it apart, replace the piston rings and the bearings, and put all new seals in it. And that would probably get you straightened out and back on the road and good for another 200,000 miles or more.
What would that cost him, Rick?
I'm going to guess somewhere around 2,000 to 3,000. But even a used engine, just the engine alone, is going to be 3,000 to 4,000, and a new engine you're talking 8,000 to 9,000. And that's just the part. Then installation's going to be probably another 1,200 to 1,500.
When you do
I'll say 900 to 1,000 for installation.
Would there be a warranty on that repair?
Overhauling the engine, every part that gets put into that car would get a 1-year unlimited mileage warranty from Toyota.
On parts, right?
Yep.
It's a 4-cylinder. And why is burning oil so early?
Unfortunately, I couldn't answer that exactly to tell you why. It could be that one of the piston rings is broken, or just broken down, and of course that lets the oil get in a lot easier into the cylinders to where it burns oil. It could be bad. The what they call the oh man, sorry, I'm having a bit of a brain issue here this morning. The seals for the valves. But most likely it's going to be a piston ring issue.
About the PCV valve.
I'm sorry?
The PCV valve, do I need to change it?
Generally not, because PCV valves anymore, there's really no maintenance to them. And the only thing that really happens with them is that they get plugged up, and then that would actually stop it from having oil burning or even having those extra gases. You could give that a try. It may help improve that oil burning a little bit. But if it's going through a lot of oil, then you may need to have it overhauled.
And I have another question for Al. Recently, I bought a Subaru Legacy 2019 in September, and it just has 5,000 mileage. And I went to Subaru to have it maintenance. They tried to charge me over $100. Why? And I told them I got 3 years, 36,000 mileage warranty, and they say it's not free anymore. Why should they change it?
Oh, I don't know. I'd be writing the manager's office saying, wait a minute, because if you've got paperwork that shows that you should have paid maintenance, and especially on a 2019 Subaru, I'd be taking that paperwork and be in the manager's office and saying, hey, what's going on?
And put it in writing. I would email them first and let them know that you were misinformed, and now they're reneging on what they told you. Taking it up the ladder anytime you're mistreated in a car dealership is always better. If you can get up to the general manager or even the owner, often you'll get a complete satisfaction, and you're dealing with somebody on the line there that are on commission. Suddenly they change their mind when their boss finds out about it.
And the problem I have, they didn't tell me before about the car, and they give me a number. I call. When I call, I tell the guy, if I knew I would have paid for that, I will not buy the car. And I tell him, you're lucky I cannot return it. If I can return it, I will buy a Toyota.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons one of my latest columns was never go car shopping alone, because oftentimes it's the salesman's word against yours. If you come in there with a friend or an advisor, it's at least 2 against 1. Unfortunately, the way cars are sold today, salespeople will deliberately misrepresent something to sell a car, and then they'll deny having said it. I would take it up the line, as I said earlier, and if he's had previous complaints, I think they might side with you, the customer, especially when you commit it to writing. I send him an email, and then I would follow up verbally.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry that happened, and thank you very much for the call from Tampa. We'd love to hear from you again someday and see how things go with that Highlander. I hope you can get the problem resolved. That is a little bit early on a good vehicle
Very
to have
early.
the problem, and I know how you feel. You feel bad, and we feel bad for you, but let us know how that works out. Give us another call.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
sir.
Thanks for joining us this morning. Ladies, again, $50 for the first 2 new lady callers. So give us a call at 877-960-9960. And more positive news about ladies. I read in the automotive news that what they're doing, the auto group, what they're doing is that they're attracting female talent by using videos to tell their stories of the women who work there. And guess what they're doing? The strategy has helped put more women in the customers' new clients, new customers. It's just a win-win situation. So again, I always like sharing positive news with you about the ladies and what they mean to the auto industry. 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. And we are going to go to Rod He's calling us from the Smoky Mountains.
Wow.
Welcome, Rod.
Hey, Ryan.
Yes, I do. How do you think, Earl? Old crack dummy here, as we used to say. So, see everything's getting a little cool for you all down there and all. And, when I call and wish you all the best. I haven't talked to anybody in a while.
Thank you.
Down there. So, just wanted to just take a quick call and say about y'all and both being down there somewhat, but, spring's coming, so.
Well, it's always good to hear from the Smokies.
That's right. I love that place.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I'd like to retire there.
Yeah, well, I'd love to come up and visit you. We love the mountains in the Carolinas.
Be open anytime.
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to just say something quick. I'm sure you're busy, so carry on and take care of y'all.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate hearing from you.
Thank you. We are going to go to Warren, and he's calling us from the Pompanos.
The Poconos?
No. Warren, where are you?
People are calling from mountain ranges.
I'm in Pompano Beach.
Oh,
okay.
Pompano. When
Pompano?
Nancy said you were in the Poconos. We just had a call from the Smokies.
Well, actually,
I figured you were up there skiing.
We have Jerry from the
I actually
Catskills
live in
on the
two
line.
What's going on, Warren?
Yeah, Pompano and.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a question for Rick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rick, I have a 2010 Ford Taurus with 150,000 miles on it, and it's still going pretty strong. However, I had a brake job maybe a year ago, and the brakes are so soft, a little mushy, and the mechanic I had it done with, he looked over every possible thing. It had a master cylinder replaced a couple of years ago, said he wasn't that. He said he can't find anything. Nothing comes out on the computer scan. He said he thinks it might be the ABS module, but he said nothing comes out on that. And he says probably the only place you could go is the dealer, and maybe they have more sophisticated equipment. But they're like mushy, and he says he can't find anything wrong with it. What do you think that could possibly be?
Going with that KISS method, have they tried bleeding the
Hey,
brakes?
does that keep it simple, stupid?
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
the one.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, he did. He tried. He's a pretty good mechanic, and I trust him. He's tried every possible thing, and he says he did the computer scans. He looked in the engine. He said he just can't find anything other than his guess was, but nothing comes out on the computer, and the light doesn't go on. Nothing comes up on it. He says he can't find anything. He says other than taking it to the dealer and maybe going through a whole, thing on it or something. Would you have any kind of guess on that, or what it possibly could be?
Well, you've got no external leaks for fluid leaks anywhere, so the fluid's not going out of the system. That loss of pressure then would have to be either the master cylinder or the ABS module getting an internal loss of pressure. It's seeping past a valve somewhere, and that probably is going to be a bad unit on one of those two. Because I know, and the reason I ask about bleeding them is because air in the system, obviously when you step on the pedal, if there's any air in the system, air compresses, but fluid does not. That's why you get a mushy feel to it, when you have air in there.
Rick, would if he went to a Ford dealer with Ford's diagnostic equipment, would that pick up either of those two?
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
And what would be the diagnostic charge to do that for approximately? Because I know,
I'm going to say probably between $100 and $150 would be just a base diagnosis, and if any competent dealership for that amount should be able to give you a reasonably solid diagnosis of what's going on. One of the big advantages at this point of going to the dealership is their guys have probably seen this issue, especially because Taurus is such a popular car. They've probably seen this 50 times over. And so they can say, oh, yeah, we know what that is.
Good point, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Anytime your local mechanic, even though he's a good guy and smart, can't diagnose a problem on a car, you're always better off to go to a dealer. But buyer beware, ask them ahead of time I need to find this, I have to have this problem diagnosed, put your diagnostic machinery on it. What are you going to charge me? And you can maybe go to another dealer and find out what he charged you and get the best price, and then let them use their factory diagnostic equipment that the independent will not have.
So he is probably. He says he doesn't. It's not the master cylinder because that was replaced a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But the ABS. His guess is he said the ABS module.
Yeah.
Although it's not coming out on any computer scans, he said that's his guess. He said probably only the Ford dealer could. You probably hit it on the head. Only the Ford dealer could probably come out and give you the right diagnosis on
Yeah, like Rick said, he's probably seen it 20 times. You know, with a Ford dealer, they work 90% on Fords, and they see all the problems, and the independent probably hasn't seen it before.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys.
Thanks,
thank
Warren.
you very
Appreciate the
much.
call.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
Give
you.
us a call again.
Bye-bye.
Hey,
Thank
77.
you. I will. I like your show. Great show.
Oh, thank you so much. 877-960-9960. Or you can text us at 772-497. 772-497-6530. And back to what I was trying to say earlier to the ladies, I just want to remind you that the Automotive News had an article that was really important, and I was trying to tell the ladies that the strategy has really helped put more women in customer-facing roles and win over a lot of clients. So, ladies, I'm going to remind you, $50 for the first 2 new lady callers. Give us a call. Again, that number, 877-960-9960. And please stay tuned for the mystery shopping report from Palm Beach Toyota. It's a doozy.
We've got a lot of texts backing up over there.
Oh, yeah. We have like 12 anonymous feedbacks. We got
Oh, wow.
like 10 regular texts. We'll get through them.
We
They're
have to
pretty good.
add an hour to the show.
That's what we got to do, starting in the 2021 season. Okay. What is stopping Toyota, Ford, General Motors, etc., from setting up shop across the USA with a Tesla-styled model, boutiques featuring a vehicle or two, allowing the customers to order online right from the store? This wouldn't technically violate franchise agreements, would it? Something like this could happen overnight before car dealers could even react. Once these boutiques are in place, it would be too late for dealers to fight this in court because consumers would flock to this style of selling.
Well, it is blocked by the franchise law in all 50 states very carefully, very thoroughly, and very completely. And that's the only reason we have a dealer network today. It was built over the past 100 years, and they are very, very strict laws. You cannot sell a car unless you're a franchise automobile dealer in any of the 50 states.
Very good. Hey, Earl, what happened to the quote you used to read every show about doing what's right even if you don't have to? Wasn't that quote from Ichiro Toyota?
No, that was from Jim Press, who used to be on the board of directors at Toyota. He was the only non-Japanese that ever served at that time on the board, and he was in charge of Toyota for all of North America. And Jim Press said, it's what you do for the customer when you don't have to. That's the test of true character, kind of like sticking up for somebody who can't defend himself. And that was a great quote, and I just thought I beat it into the ground and decided to quit saying it. But it's very true. If you ever have an experience with a business anywhere and you have a complaint, and legally they don't have to do anything for you, but they do it anyway, you found yourself a good businessman.
Very good. Moving. Oh, Rick's got something there.
I've actually got one for you, Stu. This one definitely is right for you. Steve E. says, question.
Hey, Stevie.
My mother is looking for a new Toyota SUV, and I'm helping. I've looked on the Toyota website, and the question is, why is the Land Cruiser nearly twice the price of the 4Runner and Sequoia?
Probably because of the reputation for the Land Cruiser. They can price it. It's considered a luxury SUV.
Supply and demand.
It is. I mean, it is put together pretty well. It's a big, heavy-duty thing with every feature you can imagine.
There are
and
very few Land Cruisers available, and low supply. And then when somebody wants one, they want it real bad.
Yeah. So to give you an example, in the southeastern United States, we just checked this out in preparation for our mystery shopping report. I think there were about 100 Land Cruisers, it looked like, that were on the ground out of 174 dealers, so not everybody has them.
And how many 4Runners would there be?
Thousands.
Yeah. There you go.
Supply and demand.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Okay, here's a good one for Rick. Is it true that the solid lines that appear between the lanes as you approach a traffic signal indicate the point you need to apply your brakes? I think I remember Rick talking about this a few years back.
I don't know if that's actually a rule that somebody put in place, but I think it's a fantastic rule of thumb. My opinion is if you're traveling at the speed limit and you're coming up to an intersection, at the point where the center line goes from dotted to solid, if the light turns yellow before you get to that solid line, then you should have plenty of room to safely stop your car, and you should stop for that yellow light because you're not going to make it through the red light.
The answer to that is no.
I wouldn't recommend. I'd say apply your brakes that moment your gut says, "Oh my God, I
Drive
better
carefully,
brake."
folks. Please be careful out there.
Well, that's the
Or
point.
test it out. See what happens today.
If
No,
the
don't
light
do
turns
that.
yellow before you get to that solid line, then you should stop.
And
But
Earl,
if
what
you're
did-
already at the solid section
Floor it.
and it
Don't
turns
do that.
yellow,
We're
it
kidding.
means you're close enough that you should continue through.
And
Try that
Earl, what
sometime.
exactly do you do?
I drive carefully.
He drives very
Let's move
carefully.
along. We got a bunch of text here.
Obeys all the traffic laws. Earl, you've made your opinion of Jeep abundantly clear. What, in your esteemed opinion, is the worst vehicle Toyota ever made?
The worst vehicle Toyota ever made.
That's an interesting question. I have my guess. I'm going to write down what I think Earl's going to say,
I'm going to write down what I think
And-
Earl's going to say.
and then we'll see if I'm right. And
Well, you know, it's not a fair question because I've been a Toyota dealer for 47 years.
whatever it says,
48.
ever made. You can go back to 1968 if you want, or
gosh.
75.
Oh, it was probably the cargo vans that we used to sell back in the
80s?
late 70s and early 80s.
You mean just the Toyota minivans?
And also the original Land Cruisers were terrible. They would rust
Okay.
fast as can be. But,
I was wrong. I was going to guess FJ Cruiser. That's what I thought you were going to say.
oh, yeah, it was
Which
not
is
a,
I disagree.
Yeah,
but-
the FJ Cruiser was not a quality car, but it was like the Jeep in the fact that the charisma was there. High resale value, people love them, and you can never sell enough of them.
Yeah, from a mechanical standpoint, what do you think the worst Toyota was ever made?
The new Supra.
Really? I disagree.
And that's only because I am a Toyota guy and it's
That's
a
a
BMW.
BMW.
Okay, let's move along.
Okay. Good morning. This is from Bob and Stuart. My question, is there a time frame on airbags? I mean, maybe a shelf life on older vehicles when they may or may not work correctly?
Talked about it last week. As questions come up several times, the answer is there is no time limit, and there should be, and that should be federally enforced. And if you've got a car with a 20-year-old airbag, you have a problem. And I think that you should be aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sometimes you don't know when an airbag's going to fail. I mean, if there's something in there that's going to fail, but you just won't know about it. So, federal government, take heed, do something about it.
This is from Brian on the west coast of California. I have a question that might be aimed more towards Rick for today. Last week, my father took delivery of that 2020 Corolla XSC, and he told us what a great great experience he had, and that was actually at a Frontier Toyota out there near Pasadena. Brian says, I noticed immediately that the car, this is talking about the Corolla, that the car has a slight vibration while slowing down once the car hits about 5 miles or less. Then that same vibration feels relevant when accelerating up to about 5 miles per hour. Any idea what that might be? I've never felt this in any car before. Thank you, and looking forward to the show, as always. A vibration.
I'd actually have to play with that one because I've never heard of something
Yeah,
that
slowing
very low
down
speed
and
like
speeding
that.
up. That's puzzling, isn't it?
Especially at such a low speed. That almost sounds like something's loose, but it wouldn't occur only for that short
Yeah,
time.
Brian, I'd say your father had a good experience at Frontier Toyota. They seem to be like an honest dealership. I'd take it right back to the service department there and let them know. Let them test drive the car, and I'm sure it's
Yeah, they should test drive it.
but yeah.
They should test drive the car, and then they got to fix it. I mean, it's going to be a puzzle, though.
Okay.
But Brian, ride with the technician and show
Yeah.
it to him.
Yeah, good
excuse me.
advice.
Excuse me, guys. I feel a little left out. Nobody asked me what I thought was the worst Toyota built. Would you like my answer? It's a little delayed.
Tell us about your Barracuda, though.
I'm going to knock you off that chair. Hey, Tercel. The Toyota Tercel. Worst built.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next text.
This is anonymous feedback.
Oh, good.
It says, how come you don't give Nancy the respect that's due on the worst Toyota question? I'm just kidding. That didn't say that. That might be coming in, though. Dear Earl, I just listened to your show. This came in after we concluded the show last week, and we're just catching up to it. I have two questions. First, do you have a Twitter live link that I can get to your show in real time? The answer to that is yes. It's twitter.com/Earl on Cars. We're live on there right now. Second question. I just went to the Consumer Reports that you mentioned on the air on the 1st of February. It was the Consumer Reports with the yellow magazine cover with a smiley face. I looked up the brand rankings you spoke about. Not only is Nissan ranked above Honda, but so is Dodge and Mini. That just doesn't seem right to me. How could Dodge, as a manufacturer, be rated as number 8 and Honda be rated as number 12? What the heck is going on?
Well, sometimes you get surprises in Consumer Reports, which is the reason that you should read it. Consumer Reports is, without doubt, the most reliable, honest source of information on car quality and safety, even pricing. Sometimes you get vehicles that you have in your mind as not being a good vehicle, and they improve. You can have a manufacturer, Nissan, and they might have 20 different models, and one model is extremely good, and the rest of them aren't so good. Consumer Reports carefully, with experts, test these vehicles. They do extremely good surveys, unbiased. They don't accept advertising or money from manufacturers, dealers, for anybody. And you get surprises. I have to tell you, when you say to me a Nissan had a higher rating than a Honda, it makes me raise my eyebrows. But my money would be on Consumer Reports. And if you go into the detail, and you can get the detail on those tests, you will find out that they're accurate. But nobody's perfect, and sometimes they do make mistakes.
Rick's got a YouTube question.
Yeah. Richard Poplus is asking, how much do dealerships mark up cars posted on the internet? When I gave them an offer $500 to $1,000 lower than their price, they acted like I had two heads.
Part of the game. They want you to feel guilty about trying to get a discount. You should always ask for a discount, and they should respectfully accept or decline. But the psychological point of shaming you into being embarrassed to ask is exactly what it is. They want you to back off and take the price they quoted. There is no markup established for dealers to advertise online. Online price is typically a better price than the one you get from the showroom. When you walk in and say, how much is that car? They will post their best price typically online. What you need to worry about is that an out-the-door price, meaning are they going to sneak in dealer-installed accessories, and are they going to add hidden fees? And they will answer is yes. In most dealerships, they will do both. So the online price is a lower price than the showroom, but it's also a price that's full of hidden fees that you have to pay when you actually try to buy the car.
And CHJ229 is asking, where do I check to see which dealership is on your recommended list?
You go to earloncars.com. On the panel on the right side of the web page, it says important links, and among those important links are the recommended dealer list.
Yes.
And we update it every Saturday as soon as we pass or fail our mystery shopping target.
And remember, buyer beware. Even on the recommended dealer list, we grade on the curve. So we have no perfect dealers, including our dealership. But nobody's perfect. Always be careful when you buy from anybody, and always shop and compare the price, the out-the-door price, with other dealers. Never fall in love with a dealer and decide that he's such an honest person and he gives you such good prices that every time you buy a car, you buy it. Shop and compare every time you buy a car.
That is because a car dealership is a beast with many heads.
Yes.
You got the dealer's head, and you got about 20 salespeople's heads.
Exactly.
And anybody can do their own thing. Jay wants to know, aren't the solid lines and intersections indicative of a no lane change zone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Next.
I remember from my driving test back when I was 15 years old. Okay. This is a follow-up on anonymous feedback to the Consumer Reports comment. The same issue of Consumer Reports has the Nissan Rogue listed as the second most reliable, and the Toyota RAV4 listed as the 5th most reliable. Check out page 59. Something is amiss. I did check out the Consumer Reports, and like you just addressed before, that's the way they called it.
It is what it is,
Yeah.
folks. Full transparency, we are a Toyota dealership. The folks in this room are affiliated with Toyota dealership, and we think we sell a good product. To be totally honest and transparent, there are other products that are better than Toyota's. If you go through the entire line, Toyota has, 25 or 30 models?
Yeah.
All the other manufacturers have 25 or 30 models. So if you love Toyotas, that's a nice thing to say, but you might find a Honda model that's better than the equivalent Toyota or a Nissan model.
Things ebb and flow.
Yeah, even some of the manufacturers out there with bad reputations will have a model that's pretty good. So you can't paint any manufacturer with the same brush.
Yeah.
Go to Consumer Reports, and even Consumer Reports can be mistaken.
Could be.
I know. I hate to overcomplicate things, but you do realize that
There's no magic bullet.
no magic bullet. And if you can buy a car that's rated high by Consumer Reports and find out you have problems with it.
Yeah.
And you can buy a car that's rated lower by Consumer Reports and you won't have any problems.
That's right.
Why? Because every car that comes off the assembly line is a little different.
Yep.
And Rick will tell you this. He works on these cars and he'll find the exact year, make, model Toyota that has an oil consumption of half of what the exact same year, make, model Toyota has. Cars vary when they come off the assembly line, and there are lemons that come off the assembly line. So it's a crapshoot.
It's also a matter of degree when you rank things. Like, for instance, on Consumer Reports, the Nissan Rogue is recommended on not just reliability, overall higher than Toyota RAV4 in the 2020 model.
Mm-hmm.
It's close. They have a 75 score and Toyota has a 72 score. But the other thing to bear in mind is a lot of the repairs that we see that would maybe a Consumer Reports tester might see is fixed with a software update and things like that. So if you buy one that's not rated as high, doesn't mean it's going to be the worst car. And conversely, like you said, you buy the highest rated one, you might have a problem with it.
Unless you're highly anal, obsessive, compulsive like me, I would just go with the recommended cars on Consumer Reports. In general speaking, I would not buy a car that was not recommended. But if it was recommended, I'd feel safe. Even though there was another model that was ranked numerically a little higher, I would go with the one I like the best. You can't go wrong that way.
And also something that I don't think that Consumer Reports addresses is the likelihood of a manufacturer helping out the consumer if something's not technically under warranty, things like that. And you got to find the right dealer, you got to find the right manufacturer.
Yes.
Okay, good day, Earl. I would like to know from all the crew, Nancy, Earl, Stu, and Rick, if they were sending their kid away to college and a car was necessary for them, what car would you choose? And FYI, no SUV, even small ones, as the kid driver is only comfortable driving small cars. Thank you and love the show. Let me jump in because I'm sending a kid to college.
I want to go first.
And I'm not gonna plug the car that my son Jake, who is 17, graduating this year from Dreyfus, he is driving a vehicle that has all the safety features, and so that's what's most important to me. I mean, I guess the old rule of thumb was, you get a kid, a cheap used car, and you can still do that, and that might be a reality for probably most people. But if you can afford it, we definitely look at something.
And not to overdo the Consumer Reports thing, but you also want to find the consumer high safety rating by Consumer Reports.
So that's what I did. So my son is going to college in a car with extremely high Consumer Reports safety rating, also with good fuel economy and some other things. But safety is paramount for me.
And Rick, what were you going to say?
Toyota Corolla.
Yeah.
It's simply, if you watch today and count the number of Corollas that you see on the road any year, Toyota Corolla is everywhere. Those cars last.
Yeah. And if you really want to go and do a research, I talked to some body shop managers, collision body shop managers that see hundreds and thousands of cars, and they can tell you when a car comes in and it's like in a wheelbarrow, just smashed, and nobody was hurt. He'll say, boy, that's the car I'm going to buy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you have a car that can be totaled and nobody was even scratched in the car, you're looking at a safe car.
Yeah.
Yep.
They look ugly after the crash, but
Yes.
if the passenger cabin is intact, then they did a good job building that thing. All right, each week, this is more anonymous feedback. Each week I hear you talk about the Takata airbag recalls. Is there any way to know in a fatal accident if the airbag exploding caused the accident, or did the airbags activate after the crash happened? Maybe you could discuss that.
That's a great question because it's something we don't talk about often enough. They come up with these statistics, 25 people were killed or 10 people were killed or whatever. It's impossible to tell in a bad accident what the cause of death was. Maybe not impossible, but the fact is there are no autopsies performed. When you find a terrible accident on the turnpike or interstate somewhere, the people are taken to the morgue. I mean, that sounds very, very terrible thing to say, but they're so clearly dead and terribly dead. You don't know if it was the shrapnel from the inflator of the airbag indicate or not. There should be some research done into all these accidents to find out if the inflator did in fact blow up. Rick?
And I was just wanting to mention the only way to really determine if that inflator detonated like that is to actually disassemble the dash or steering column to get to the inflator, because they're buried down in there.
Good point.
So it's tough to get down to them to see them.
And there's something else for the federal government, folks. There should be a law now with this huge Takata airbag recall that exactly what Rick just described is done. In every fatal accident or every accident with an injury, there should be a law that the insurance company or I don't know who would be responsible, take apart the dash, inspect the inflator and the airbag. If the airbag deployed, that should be inspected.
And
Okay,
it wouldn't
folks.
even be that hard because you can just go with a Sawzall and just cut it to get to see it.
Okay, folks, I just want to remind you, I'm still here. Telephone number is 877-960-9960, and you can text us at 772-497-6530. And if you want to check out that terribly built Toyota, the Tercel, Google it. And as far as my answer is concerned for a safe car for your grandchildren or your children, I pick the Corolla, Camry, and the 4Runner. But my grandchildren and children are all grown. Okay, with all of that information, we're going to go to our next caller, and he is calling from Lake Worth, and that's Rich. Good morning, Rich.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, thank you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I have a quick question. I'm in a bit of a pickle. I bought in December a 2019 Toyota Highlander XLE, excuse me. And for the life of me, I cannot find a comfortable position in the driver's seat. When I had taken on a test drive, it was not an issue, but it is just, the driver's seat is just killing my back. And I'm just wondering if that's an issue you've heard before, or is it just specific to me?
You know, the seat is a safety issue. We have customers with different reasons for asking us to change their seats. Because it's part of the safety structure of the car, there are limits to what we can do. We usually just recommend cushions or things like that. Even then, you're risking affecting the safety of the vehicle. Rick, you probably know more about that than I do. What?
It's going to depend upon what sort of pain you're feeling and where, but I'd recommend trying some of those lumbar cushions that go at the small of the back.
I did get a lumbar cushion, and it does help, but quite frankly, it's annoying me in having a lumbar cushion in my new car, because previously my last new car that I bought was a 2004 Acura MDX. And to go back to what you folks were saying about Consumer Reports, the main reason I didn't go back to another Acura MDX was because of Consumer Reports, and they rate it so poorly, I believe a 1 out of 5, and it's pretty low on the numerical scale. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Highlander is a similar vehicle to, not similar, but in size and utility to the MDX, and I liked it, and I like everything about the car other than the lack of comfort. But I don't find much online about folks complaining about the comfort of the seat, and as a matter of fact, Consumer Reports rates the comfort of a seat 5 out of 5.
Wow.
So I didn't know if this is a problem you folks have ever addressed or even heard of with this particular model.
Well, this isn't going to make you feel any better, but I always recommend that people drive the car at some length before they buy it. And even if you were driving Highlanders before, next year's model is a little different. And as a car dealer, the good thing about being a car dealer is I hear all the complaints from customers, and we commonly have complaints with people that will buy the same car they bought before, they thought, but it's the current model. And there's something about the car that is a little different that you really can't feel or discover until you drive it. And we encourage customers to take a car for a day or two and drive it under the same conditions they normally drive, sit in the seat the way you normally sit, get in and get out. But that isn't going to help you any. This is after the fact. But for the folks that are listening to you, it's got to be frustrating. I don't blame you. You did all your homework. You're a highly educated consumer. You check with Consumer Reports, and you did exactly the right thing. But now you got a seat that's a little bit different, and it's affecting you. And I'm so sorry that happened. I mean, if you're anywhere near our dealership, we'd love to have you come in, and we'll help you any way we can, make any suggestions we can. But it's something that hopefully the folks that are listening will listen to this and be very careful before they buy a car they haven't even driven in. We have a lot of people buy cars today and they don't drive the car before they buy it. And even though you drove the same model 4 years ago, the new car is different.
And Rich, I want to let you know that I too agree with Earl, and there's so many consumers that take that issue last. They don't even consider it. They look at everything else on the vehicle. They get home and they find out that front seat, that driver's seat, is so uncomfortable, and I'm very sorry for you.
Rick?
No, well, thank you. Earl, you're exactly right. That does not make me feel better.
Yeah, unfortunately, like Earl says, if the dealership won't allow you to do like a full day test drive, I would even consider finding a place that rents that model of vehicle.
Yeah.
And rent a car, if you pay $50 or $60 to rent it for one day to drive that thing around and really run it, it's unfortunate because the problem is that, even sitting in this room right now, we've got 4 different people in here with 4 vastly different sizes and shapes to the 4 of us. And nobody can make one seat that's going to make it comfortable for all 4, no matter how many ways there are to adjust it. So
exactly.
It's tough.
And if a dealership wants to seal a deal with you, most of them will let you take that vehicle home overnight where you can really check out the comfort of that driver's seat.
Right. Now, may I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
Just based on what you were previously saying just moments ago about Consumer Reports, and the main reason why I stayed away from another MDX, would you, because it gets such a low score on the Consumer Reports rating, stay away from the MDX? Now, I had the other MDX. I still have it, actually, and I have had it pretty much trouble-free for 220,000 miles. And I guess that bucks the trend of Consumer Reports as well on that particular model. But should I be scared of, because quite honestly, if I can't resolve this problem, I'm going to have to,
Sure.
Probably either get another car or figure something else out. But I think it might be another car. And I'm just wondering, should I be so scared away from the car just because of Consumer Reports?
My answer to that would be it's just statistics and probability. You could get that. That's an Acura, right? You get the going back to the Acura. You could buy that car and you would love it and never have a problem with it. But statistically, the odds are higher you will have a problem with it based on the Consumer Reports testing. Let me ask you this: this testing that you're talking about is on the current model new car NVX, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it would be 2019.
2019.
I hadn't looked at the 2020 because I was looking.
Consumer Reports does 2 types of testing. They do the testing on the new vehicle. They probably did that in 2019, and they give a rating. And that was based on a survey of customers that had bought the car and their own testing. There's a big difference between testing a car when it first comes out and then giving the results of having driven that car for 3 or 4 years. They test the cars later. That's where they give their reliability and maintenance and cost sort of evaluation. So the testing of Consumer Reports on the new model car is not as reliable as the one on the 3 or 4. If you'll recall, Consumer Reports gave Tesla a perfect rating, the only time they ever gave a 100 rating to any car when it came out new, and then 2 years later, they dropped it off their recommended list because it was a great car when it was crispy, fresh, new when they tested it, and 2 years later, there were a lot of glitches that were coming up. So, not to overcomplicate this, but it's just a matter of playing the odds. The odds say you're better off not to buy it, but you could win the lotto and never have a problem with it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. I sure do appreciate your input.
Sorry,
I guess I'll figure out where to go from here.
Couldn't answer the question, but we tried. Thank you, Rich.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I've actually got a couple interesting quotes on YouTube here on Consumer Reports. Stevie says, Consumer Reports, I'm a subscriber, and I think the issue is that they treat issues with the infotainment and air conditioning the same as issues with the engine and transmission, meaning they would kind of lump everything in as their total number.
I don't think so. I think they break that out. If you look at the detail on the Consumer Reports, they tell you specifically how they rate it, and then they have a cumulative total. Not that the infotainment isn't going to be part of the rating. But
it could be inconvenient to get that fixed, but they have reliability and then also owner satisfaction, and then they break it down into a whole bunch of other categories.
And then Gearhead 10 says, Customer Reports is a joke. Can't believe you all recommend them. They're biased. When scoring a car, they survey their subscribers. Complete joke they are. I'm sure you will disagree because you're obsessed. You're obsessed with them. I have a family member that works for/with them. It's all biased.
Well, that's what makes a horse race, right? Difference of opinion. There are people out there that just don't agree with anything. And I guarantee you can't take a source or a book or anything or person and get 100%. So your opinion is Consumer Reports is a joke, and unfortunately,
not in this polarized nation that we live in.
Exactly.
Right.
But if there's one thing that has got the most respect and
it's better than Motor Trend.
It's better than anything. They're not perfect though. They're definitely not perfect.
Nope.
And here's another one that's just right up your alley, Earl. It's Warhawk Legend 69. Love your username, by the way.
Me too.
That's awesome.
Me too. Very powerful.
Earl, if a dealer is charging a dealer fee to one, does that mean they have to charge that same fee to everybody? If not, will they get into legal problems in Florida?
No, and that is a lie perpetuated by the car dealers. They will tell you that they have to charge everybody a dealer fee if they charge you, or if they don't charge you, they can't charge anybody. That is pure bogus. That originated, if you're interested, many, many years ago from the Florida Automobile Dealers Association warning dealers that if they charge dealer fees to a certain class person, in other words, if older people were always charged dealer fees and younger people weren't, or if Hispanics were always charged dealer fees and non-Hispanics weren't, or if Afro-Americans were charged dealer fees and Caucasians weren't, then you can be charged for discrimination. But the dealer fee itself can be selectively and randomly, and that's typically what happens in some cases.
Yeah, and that sort of thing doesn't just apply to dealer fees. If you're doing anything, negative to any particular class of customer, and then you can be sued for that.
I got one other question. This is actually for me a personal side thing, but
you got to call
right
in.
on that same line.
You have to call.
I've got my phone.
Go outside and call.
At a buy here, pay here lot, that the buy here, pay here lot is holding the note for the car, and so
toting the note.
They're doing it, and they require the buyer to have full insurance, PIP liability, comp and collision on the car. The salesperson told the buyer that it is required by state law in Florida that they have to have comprehensive and collision on the car for the loan to go through and for them to take delivery of the car from the buy here, pay here lot. Is that actually a state law, or is that
I'm going to guess.
where they're just trying to protect themselves.
I'm going to guess, Rick, that it's up to the lender on the type of protection that they want to put on there. For example, leases require lessors require a higher level of insurance, and a bank could probably require what they want.
Buyer or payer's lying to you because they don't want you to drive the car unless you buy and pay for the collision insurance.
Right.
Because if you can't pay
their choice.
and wreck the car, it costs them money. So that's a lie.
Yeah, that's their choice.
Okay. Where are we going?
Sure. We got a question from Steve in New Jersey. Hi, Rick. I just had 4 new tires installed by Costco, and I had 4 new air pressure sensors installed as well. I asked them if they have to tell the car's computer to recognize those sensors, and I was told by them that they will be automatically recognized. My car is an 07 Lexus ES 350. Is that true?
Lexus and all Toyotas, those sensors have to be programmed to the car by way of a Toyota scan tool.
I'm surprised Costco misinformed you. You should go back and
That's right.
correct them.
Because I'll bet you anything that tire light, every time he starts the car, blinks for about a minute and a half and then goes solid and stays on.
Okay, next one. This is for Rick, too. My trusty weed whacker requires a single fill-up, oil and gas. Wouldn't it make sense for my car to have the oil pre-mixed with the fuel for extra lubrication? That's from Al Aluminum, and I'm going to guess it's a joke question?
Well, Al, I'll forge out an answer for you. No, and the main reason that we do
What
not...
if they had a 2-cycle engine?
Well, that's actually the case of it. The main reason we don't use 2-cycle engines on automobiles is the lack of power produced by them for moving a heavier vehicle and the absolutely immense amount of emissions produced by 2-cycle engines. And so that gas and oil mix is polluting like crazy versus the only somewhat horrible pollution coming from our 4-cycle gasoline engines.
Next.
All right, picked up by 9to5 Mac. I read that blog. Apple accidentally left code in its newly released iOS 13.4 beta for Car Key. And it's an unannounced all-new service which has the potential to transform the automotive landscape by enabling iPhone and Apple Watch owners to use their devices as digital car keys. I read that same article. I also know that Toyota and other manufacturers are all developing this electronic key thing where you're able to start your car, get in your car. But the reason they're saying it could transform the automotive landscape is because it allows for more easier and ride sharing. So if you can go to a car and use your phone to get in and start it, that's how you start this true ride sharing paradigm.
All right, I'm having a mind blank. There's a car commercial I've just seen recently where the meter maid walks up to the car that's parked at a meter.
Yeah.
The meter's about to run out. The owner's sitting at an outdoor cafe. He pulls out his phone or his remote for the car and makes the car pull forwards. Nobody in the car. The car drives forwards into a green zone. The meter maid gets grumpy and leaves. Then he walks over to the car and uses his phone to unlock the door. And, of course, their tagline is Ford, Honda, Chevy. Nobody else has this. But what is that car company?
I can use my phone to unlock the car.
But you can't start it.
Yes, I can.
Not when you're driving it.
No, not when I'm driving it. No.
Yeah, and you can't go up to somebody else's car and get in there.
No.
All right, we got to move along because we got a long mystery shopping report, so we're going to start. But we have another one. Earl, have you called Steve Leto or Steve Richards in regards to having them part of your show?
No.
Okay, this is from Jennifer in Tampa. She says that she is a new listener to the show, and she wants to ask the recovering car dealer, what is your documentation fee?
We don't have a documentation fee. We don't charge any fees that are not applied by the government. And we also call doc fees hidden fees, which is what they really are because they don't include them in the advertised price.
And Jennifer, there's an endless list. They have a name for it all, and it's bogus. So I hope you stay tuned next Saturday and become a regular on our radio show. Our phone number is 877-960-9960, and you can text us at 772-497-6530.
Oh, and that's the Hyundai has that new commercial.
Oh, cool.
Hyundai. Okay, this is another anonymous feedback. Good morning, Earl. Who are car gurus, NADAs, KBBs, and auto traders and True Cars customers? Is it the consumers? Is it you and me? No. I'd guess that the customers are the car dealers, a wolf in sheep's clothing to attract the uninformed consumer to the dealer's lots.
You're exactly right. And you would have to say that all those you named economically exist because of car dealers. The car dealers pay the fee, and you have to be very, very careful. I mean, our True Car is one that we've recommended on this show. We say the same thing about True Car, Car Guru, Auto Trader, Cars.com. They all get their source of revenue from the dealer. One of the reasons I go back about Consumer Reports is they don't take any money from car dealers, auto manufacturers, or anybody else. They are a non-profit. They exist strictly on donations, and you can't get any more squeaky clean than that.
Nancy. That's the
Nancy.
It says, "Good morning. I have a mission for you, should you choose to accept. I think you might appreciate this callback to your past, a trip to the scrapyard. I recall a show from last year where you mentioned going to the scrapyard. I need a radiator and radiator fluid reservoir for my 2002 Civic. Can you help me? Thank you."
Okay, I think we mentioned a scrapyard, junkyard this morning, and a very popular one because back in my day we called them a junkyard. Rick, can you add to that?
LKQ.
There you go, LKQ.
Like, kind, quality. That's the only way I can remember that. Like, kind, quality.
Yeah.
LKQ.com.
Yes.
Another one, by the way, I had texted our wholesale guy, Ted, for these. He recommended LKQ. The number is 800-962-2277. The other one is You Pull and Pay. I'm familiar with that one as well, and that's 561-793-3808. That's You Pull
The
and
one
Pay.
that bothers me is Snake Road Wrecking Yard.
I do not
But
drive
it's
on
probably a
Snake
great
Road.
place, but I'd
drive.
change the name if I were them.
Well, Snake Road is actually the road that it's on.
I don't care.
And the county name.
I don't even want to walk on Snake Road.
I'm not going to drive on Snake Road.
Yeah.
It's a great lot. I've been there.
I'm glad.
It's right at the intersection of Snake Road and Spider Boulevard.
Yes.
There you go. Hey guys, just want to alert you, we're 4 minutes, to the mystery shopping report.
Timing is perfect because I got one more anonymous feedback and one more text.
Great.
This one's going to be real quick. What's Alan's recommendation for preventing your fake leather seats from drying out and cracking? I think Rick was spot on in regards to keeping the seats clean, but I'd also like to maintain their current pristine condition. Isn't a conditioner of sorts required for this? I texted Alan. Alan said get a just your regular commercial leather conditioner. And that's what he recommends.
Oh, well, commercial leather conditioner on artificial leather.
Yeah, that's
interesting.
what it says.
Counterintuitive, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Now 2 minutes.
All right, we're catching up. Hi, this is Steve from New Jersey. Ever able to ask the Consumer Reports author of their crash test biased how male-focused testing puts female drivers at risk? The author stated that female drivers and front seat passengers versus males, they're at a 17% greater risk of death and a 73% greater risk of serious injury from an accident.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, folks, don't forget that column that Earl writes every week. And boy, I'll tell you what, you can't read this enough. And that's Never Go Car Shopping Alone. And you can get that in the Hometown News, and you can read it at Earl on Cars.
Florida Weekly?
And the Florida Weekly. And to your text, Stu, I talked about that from the Consumer Report because they were recognizing the fact that women and children have not really been recognized, their body frame, which puts women in a very vulnerable position.